live, everybody. I am Beth Weinstein. I'm here with my friend Rachael, who's out there in Colorado, right, Rachael?
Yes, I am. I'm in Longmont, Colorado.
Nice. Wait, where's Longmont? I don't know where that is.
Longmont's actually just a little bit north of Boulder.
Nice,
Yeah.
Beautiful. So Rachael and I met last summer, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, last summer. God, it feels like it was eons ago. At No Goddess Left Behind, which is an annual women's retreat that I helped co-organize with my friend Janny Moon and a whole bunch of other amazing women. And Rachael taught her famous Ganjasana or am I saying it right?
Yes, Ganjasana.
I know both the words separately. She taught it at No Goddess Left Behind, and she was just up to so much cool stuff, and I really love it. And it's something really unique because I live in New York where ganja, as we know it, is not quite legal yet, and you live in Colorado where it is. And there's just all these amazing opportunities for women like you who have become or already been entrepreneurs, and now you're out there and able to make this thriving business. So can you tell people a little bit more about what it is that you do and what it's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Ganjasana, we provide ceremonies, workshops, and teacher trainings on how to use the tools of yoga, meditation, and mindfulness to deepen our connection with the cannabis plant spirit. And so it's really an ancient practice that we're reviving in these modern times and seeing how we can really look at the roots of the medicine. And so we focus on regenerative agriculture and living soil and vermicomposting and really respecting the earth, the people, and the plants and all the practices that we do.
I love it. I was just trying to do it in Instagram Live. The main problem is no one can hear you. They can only hear me because I have my headphones in.
I see.
Yeah, no, I love what you mentioned. It's really, that you're doing something really different in my world, it's actually not that different what you're doing with this plant spirit, with this medicine, as we refer to it. But, in what I call just like the mass world, where people think of marijuana as a drug that is now becoming legal and now people get to smoke and get high freely. But you're taking, this completely different approach where it's truly used in a conscious way, in a healing way, in a way where you get to use your body. Right?
Yeah, just like any plant or, any substance, we can use it for its lightness or we can use it for its darkness, and we can use it to, drop out, or we can use it to tune in. And so what we're really trying to promote is the respectful use of cannabis for health and wellness. I myself am a cancer survivor, so I give thanks every day to the plant for, saving my own life. And it's part of the, my personal reason and mission that I do this work. But through my lineage of my teachers and understanding plants as these sentient beings who have been on the earth for thousands of years before us humans, and, all plants, not just cannabis, but all plants on the planet. And so they're really here to impart their wisdom, and the yoga and the meditation and mindfulness is really just tools that allow us to quiet our mind so we can listen.
Mm-hmm. I love that you told a little bit of your story there. Now, I've heard this before, but can you tell people a little bit more about your journey with cancer and how, this medicine has helped you, and, how now you're really dedicating your life to, like you said, use this in, to tap in instead of drop out, to expand our consciousness versus people who are just trying to escape or numb themselves.
Mm-hmm. And, my personal journey, I already had a deep relationship with the cannabis plant. I was a cannabis farmer and had been working with permaculture and regenerative agriculture. So it was something that was very familiar to me. So when I was diagnosed with uterine cancer a few years ago, there's no question that plant medicine would be my first line of defense. I did work with a naturopathic doctor and, did use allopathic, traditional things like getting my blood tested and just making sure I was on the right track in my healing path. And I'm really proud to say I'm cancer-free today and thriving and jiving and just so stoked to be alive. And I think a lot of us are just monotonously going through life and as a robot, and these plants can really quote unquote, wake us up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I really, I wanted to feature you and what you were up to, because I know it's funny. I have actually talked to a few people on the phone. I give people a free coaching session, and, there's actually a lot of people I know that are doing a lot of work with CBD oils or CBD products. And I know you do too as well, right?
Yeah. So I work a lot with CBD, and, my main thing in working with the plants is the cultivation. And so we basically model Mother Nature in the way that she grows, which is utilizing the soil food web to feed the plant. So whenever you're sourcing your CBD, as people are starting to get into the industry and want to make their own products or, different things like that, I'd say the medicine is the most important part. And, where was it grown? How was it grown? And we are a huge proponent of what's called regenerative agriculture. And so, having your outputs greater than your inputs, carbon offset, and not using any fertilizers or pesticides. And, if you did use them, it would actually kill the soil food web. So that's something that we're really working on. And then with being able to work with CBD on a medicinal level, that allows us to travel into all sorts of different states. So last summer when we came to New York, we did the Women's Green Tent, which is an exciting sector of Ganjasana where we meet once a month every new moon and gather as women. And it's sort of based off the red tent tradition of aligning our rhythms with the cycles in nature and just having space and time to sit and connect and heal as women. And then we make it green by bringing in the ganja herbs. But when we can use CBD, that allowed us to practice in New York. And it's just such a healing medicine that I think everyone should be able to have access to it, should they need to.
Yeah, no, and I love that you're bringing this awareness to it, especially, you probably see this way more than I do, but right now it feels like it's kind of on fire. Everybody's getting into this industry. You see it, you've been hearing about it. Everybody's like, even me, who actually knows a lot about it, I went and just bought it, a few months ago, because I was like, what? I want to know what all the hype is all about. Let me just buy it. And I tried 2 different brands, and I could actually feel a complete difference in the 2 different brands. And one of them did feel, it just affected my body a lot better. And the other one actually was giving me a little adverse effects. So I wonder if it could have been the way it was grown, the way it was manufactured or produced or extracted. I don't know enough about it, but yeah. I like that you bring this up, because it's the same thing, with anything that we put in our bodies. It's important to know, where it comes from, what goes into it, how is it grown, is it a good practice, or is it, this could just turn into any other product, right? Like the tobacco industry or,
right.
Alcohol or whatever.
And what we see happening now, with the pharmaceutical industry, is them wanting to synthesize artificial CBD and cannabis. And what we've seen through clinical research is it creates adverse effects. So when you're not using the pure plant alone and you use a synthesized version of THC or CBD, it actually makes someone sicker. So when it's very difficult in, as it's still federally kind of navigating these waters of what is CBD? Is it a health supplement? Is it a pharmaceutical supplement? Is it a food supplement? Is it just a food? Is it hemp? So we're still in it right now. We're still trying to figure out and navigate and see what it is. And I hope that we can keep it in the hands of the farmers. Mm-hmm.
No, and I love your mission behind this, because I feel like it is important, especially at this beginning stage when things could get out of control. And there's, I'm sure this is more apparent in Colorado, where people are just like, oh, we see it as a gold mine, this whole industry is just a big gold mine now, because it's becoming more, more and more legal, and it's, the trajectory is there. But I like that you're bringing this amazing awareness to it. Now, I'm just curious, what were you doing before you were doing, this business? And I also know you're involved with some nonprofits. Have you always just been involved in this even before it was legal, or was it something you set up ahead of time? Or I know I don't want to get you in trouble. No.
Okay, well, in all honesty, I took my very first yoga class super high on cannabis when I was 15 years old. So I've been practicing Ganjasana for about 15 years now. And in regards of teaching it and bringing it out to the people, I started practicing with my friends. You know, it was just something we did. We would commune with the cannabis and then go hiking and do yoga at the top of the mountain, or just all sorts of different amazing things just naturally on our own, and not so much of an organized environment, because yes, it was completely illegal. But we officially launched in April 20th, 4/20 of 2016. But prior to that, I'm always working in education. So before that, I had worked for 5 years as the education program manager with Planned Parenthood. And so directing and writing all of their sexual education curriculum, and then working on reproductive sexual health and wellness. And so that's where a lot of my background comes in for the green tent of working with women and, having that nonprofit mindset of giving back to the community. And like I have my own pelvic model we bring in, and we go into both the science as well as the spirit of the divine feminine. And, what does that mean and how does the body work? And then also was the director of education within the Denver public school system. So helping develop curriculum on mindfulness for the students, using social emotional learning, understanding self-awareness and self-management, and just taking all of these qualities of education and mindfulness and then sort of infusing them into how we work with the cannabis plant.
I love it. This is so beautiful. Now, I always like to know people's original careers or their backgrounds to see, what led them onto what they're doing now and where they're going.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I feel like I've had so many different crazy jobs in my life, and I feel like every single one has given me tools for where I am right now. Mm-hmm. Like I used to work on a goat farm milking goats, and I used to clean hotel rooms, but you know what? Being cleanly is next to holiness. And so now I have an impeccable work ethic and keep everything clean and organized, and that helps me run a business as an entrepreneur. And so it's like everything I had to do to get to where I am gave me a skill set to succeed.
It's so important that you mention this, because I tell this to all my clients. I actually approached my whole entire career this way. I knew from the very beginning of my career that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, but I always knew I was going to have my own business. At the time, I didn't know what it was. I had this, it was something deep inside me. It was just, I was born that way. And I took everything as kind of a learning opportunity. Like even the worst job that I ever had, where I cried every day and hated every moment and hated my boss or whatever, I still always looked at it as like, there's probably something I'm learning from this. It's probably going to benefit me somehow. And I thank God I've had all these, some great jobs, some crappy jobs. And I love that you say this, because I'm very much like you. Like I've made a lot of changes. I've tried different things, and everything in some way has always benefited, where I'm at now, where I'm going to go. Mm-hmm. And I tell this to a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, especially the ones that are very, extremely eager and almost like a little, angry, like not even in the right mindset yet, where they're just like, I hate my job and I don't know what I want to do, but I just want to go make money and, screw everybody. I'm like, you know what? First you have to have a peaceful approach, right? Like first you have to be happy with yourself, at least a little, and really take this perspective of, it's all a journey, and even when you find this one thing you love so much, there's always going to be room for more or something else or different expansion or different direction. So I love that you mentioned that. Now, I'm curious, speaking of expansion, so I know you you have a few other nonprofits, correct? Right? And then...
I work with a couple other nonprofits. One of them is the Cosmic Sisters. Was I telling you about that? And so that is run by Zoe Helena. And actually her husband, Chris Killam, who's the medicine hunter, was my college professor. So that's that little closed loop there. And in school, I studied plant medicine. I was a pre-med major. And then went and studied the Shaman's Pharmacy, which was a plant medicine course down in Peru with the Shipibo tribe. So that's how I got, sort of connected into all of that and started working with the plant medicine in a more deeper level with the master plants. And so Cosmic Sister is about supporting women, wilderness, and wildlife, and seeing how we can fundraise to support the women and really give back to these communities so we can have some type of equality on this planet. Are you still there, Beth? Them in. Oh, hi.
I'm back. I know. It's funny. I did a Facebook Live with someone else yesterday using the same technology, and we had similar issues. And of course, I like to blame everything on Mercury.
Oh, well, it's of course the planets. I mean,
it's fine. New technology, it's Facebook, whatever. But yeah, no, I actually, I love that you are infusing all these different passions. And like you said, all these threads, like a college professor and something you worked on, years ago, something that happened in your personal life, something, you were already passionate about before you were even allowed to work on it publicly. And you've made it into this, it must be like you're super lit up by this. It must be
so much. I mean, even if cannabis did not become legal and there was not a cannabis industry, this is what I would be doing because that's how sacred and holy this plant is. And so once you understand that, you bow down and give thanks to her. And, I've dedicated my life to her, and I call it her, this female plant. She's such a goddess and such a medicinal life force. I mean, she can literally save lives. She saved my life. And so I think we just need to spread that knowledge and wisdom like jam.
I love it. Now, no, I agree with you. It's really funny. I used to, I don't know what the correct term is, work with marijuana when I was more. I think I talked to you about this when I met you, where I was like, it's so strong now. I work with so many other beautiful plant medicines that work really well with me, but it's interesting because I do see how much it's actually helped so many people around me. I've had family friends that have been prescribed it, people who, my friend's father was suffering, and it's, the irony is he spent his whole life as a pharmacist, and the only thing that worked for him was cannabis. And he actually went and, because of his background, he went and developed his own strains, I guess, because,
wow,
when you're retired and sick and you're a scientist, pharmacist, he's like, I'm going to go develop what works perfectly for me. And, it is incredible. It's like story after story, these medicines that are given to us as a gift by, our beautiful earth. They're just right here for us, and I personally don't believe they should be like owned by a company that's packaging them and selling them, but we'll see what happens with that. But I'm curious what you're up to next with, with Ganjasana and, any of your nonprofits, or, if you have retreats and trainings coming up. I'd love to know what's coming up.
Yeah, we do. We have a big ceremony actually this Saturday, and for the full moon in Libra. But we generally have a ceremony around every full moon, and then the women's green tent on the new moons. And then we started a Ganja yoga teacher training. So it's 100-hour continuing education credits through Yoga Alliance. Everyone's welcome to attend who's over the age of 21, just because of the legalities there. But we're going to have 3 coming up in Colorado this summer, beginning in April, and then a couple in Vermont this June.
Oh, really? So, maybe I'll come to that one.
Yeah. So it's going to be at this wonderful place in Vermont. That's what the place is called, with my friend Tyra Lee. And then, we'll have a women's green tent retreat up there. We're going to do a whole day of women's CBD, and then it'll be like a long training for women who want to hold green tents in their own communities. So just, spreading the love for the plant. And I think this cannabis plant can really rise us all up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, first of all, I love that you're doing, these women's gatherings, the ceremonial use of it. Me, I've been talking about trying to get this together for a while because
Yes.
It's interesting. I grew up in California where, yes, like the first time I smoked it, it was very recreational. And over the years, I started, I was literally like just born on the spiritual path. I mean, that makes complete sense to people on spiritual paths, but I was always had this deep awareness. And when I started getting older and really only started using, what people might call chemicals or plants or whatever for spiritual growth, for to nature and the earth, that's when I really saw like, wow, this could actually be used in such a different way than all of us are just used to, used to smoking and tuning out and dropping out and going numb or numbing ourselves or hiding. So I love that you're doing things like circling and it's ceremonial use.
Yeah. Well, for me too, it was a big learning process because when I first started using cannabis, I had no rhyme or reason. I just wanted to get high. I didn't know where the plants came from. There was the chronic herb or the swag. And, I didn't know what genetic cultivar it was or anything, or did I even bother to think to ask? And it was really when I started working with the Shipibo tribe with the ayahuasca plant medicine that master plant redefined my relationships with all plants. And the first night of my ceremony, she brought up marijuana. I remember the shaman, my curandera, Estela Pagosa, kept singing to me, marijuana, marijuana. And I was like, she thought I was there for a drug addiction. And I was like, I'm not an addict. I'm actually here for other reasons because I was there, to study plants and then also to help with my health and healing. And she's like, no, you have darkness with marijuana. And so I had to clear that out from me and, rework that relationship and be like, wow, I had been abusing the cannabis plant and nobody had taught me. There was no, ceremony because it was illegal. And so, even when I first started using ayahuasca and it completely changed my life for the positive, I didn't tell anybody. I was so scared because it was so taboo and illegal. It's legal to use it in Peru, but to speak about it here in the US, it just felt very, woo woo. People will think you're crazy. And now, ayahuasca was on the cover of Time magazine and everyone's talking about it and they're doing Silicon Valley business trips to go drink ayahuasca in the jungle. So now it's very much in the news and it's like this mass consciousness of awakening is happening. And I think it's because of the plants. Like the last ceremony I had with ayahuasca, she was telling me like, you gotta go out and do the work and you can't just keep this medicine for yourself. You have to share it because I had been doing Ganjasana and, had been working with the plant and cultivating cannabis, but it's scary to share it. I mean, it's still federally illegal. There's still people getting arrested. And I mean, I've been arrested a few times myself for this plant. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. So that's why I moved where the climate suited my clothes, where the laws suited my needs.
I had a friend comment on my Instagram and send me a text message and he's like, maybe I should move to Colorado. I was like, yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Well, I mean, now Massachusetts is legalized. So times are changing and like if the government can see the cash flow, it's giving back with all the taxes to the schools and creating great programs here in Colorado. So, and I'm working on both sectors too. So I've been working with the schools. They have a program called GRAM, which is Getting Real About Marijuana, which is all evidence-based information and facts for the youth and for the parents so that, they can be on the right track, but still understand the plant as a medicine and how to use it for, the right intention when you're of the legal age.
I love that because I hear you about speaking a little more publicly about, like what I do, right? Because I'm, what I work with and I go to Peru and, to speak about it has been very, like, oh, well, what will people think? And is there judgment? But you know what? Like it works for me. And it's had a profound effect on my life. And I cannot actually say anything negative about it for me or most of the people around me that work with it. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's been this discussion of, communication back and forth with, well, I want to share myself authentically and, share what I'm up to, share how it's benefited me, share how, including my mindfulness practice, my meditation, my reading and studying and Buddhist teaching, everything. It's not just the plants, but the plants are, it's all intertwined. It's worked. And, I've become, I've gotten a little bit better, like saying little things, just saying what needs to be said to just be able to open up and really, you're right, like get that message out that these can actually be used for good, like including, like people think of marijuana as, like a drug still. A lot of people do, like the mainstream. I always, the mainstream. And then even, it's interesting. There was even an article or something I read recently about alcohol, because I've cut back alcohol use to pretty much nil at this point, like a little. But somebody about how to use alcohol in a very sacred way, because our society has just been pouring it down our throats to numb ourselves and get wasted. But there is actually a way to use it consciously, right? Like to be aware of, to actually honor it and to drink it because, you're celebrating with friends, or it tastes very good, or it's, made biodynamic way, natural way, and it's not filled with random sulfites and chemicals. Like there's ways to approach all of it.
There's a whole spirit, that's why they call alcohol spirits. Yeah. And then with the plants, when we make medicine, you can put them in grain alcohol to extract the spirit of the plant to make a tincture. And so, alcohol is very spiritual as well. Yeah. But like you said, we've just got so thrown off course. I like to call it brainwashed by Babylon. 'Cause a lot of reason I do this too, why I like to be so vocal about the plant and just get out there. I have no fear anymore, is from recently losing my father to cancer. He was diagnosed, and even though knowing my journey and knowing what I do, he grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, and so his mindset was that cannabis is a drug. I need to listen to the top medical doctors at Boston, and they gave him the toxic prescription, and he was gone 2 months later. And so, I'd convinced him and showed him the research, and he still wanted to hear it out of the doctor's mouth. And his oncologist had said, oh, it's not going to do much. When here I am, a cancer survivor, I use the plant medicine. And so for me, I'm just like, I feel like a crusader, and I want to go over the whole planet and share this medicine with everyone to let them know that you don't have to suffer. And you can choose to live in your most optimal health and wellness. And these plants can be your guide. And, maybe cannabis is not everybody's plant, but you can work with the plants in a mindful way to find that balance.
I'm laughing and I'm sad because I can completely relate. My father actually got cancer and died within 2 months. It was very, quick. And the one good thing is he actually chose to not treat it. That was his way out. He chose, he just felt like, if I have cancer, I'm just going to let myself die naturally. And he kind of always wanted to go that way. But I laugh because very similarly, but even just crazier mindset, I was telling my parents for years about coconut oil, right? It's so simple. It's sold everywhere. It's not illegal. It's not psychoactive. And I was like, look, why don't you just try coconut oil, switch to coconut oil, start cooking with it, I even made them desserts with it. And then when my stepfather was diagnosed with early Alzheimer's, it took hearing it from their Western doctor who suggests, oh, you guys should actually start eating coconut oil, like bring it into Then my parents started doing it. But for years I was trying to, I was like, but it's that mindset. And I love that you're on this crusade to get this word out, because there are so many people really stuck in this old paradigm of bad versus good, the drug wars of Nancy Reagan and, being taught that, I've gotten into arguments over, for example, like psilocybin, magic mushrooms as some people know it as, but about the benefits of it and how there's, it's like there's research, there's people, PTSD is being treated, how it's, you can't like OD from it. It's actually very, gentle for most people. And it's actually helping so many people. But then because we've all been taught it was a drug and it's bad and it's illegal, therefore it's in this category of bad. But then all around us, we have alcoholics who are, driving drunk or getting wasted and getting into fights and blacking out. I mean, I could go on.
That's normal. That's what I'm seeing too in the culture with cannabis here. Cause, just recently, yesterday, I had a meeting with a woman putting on a cannabis event, for women that's family friendly. There's no consumption at all. It's just like a family friendly event celebrating the plant. And people were very hesitant about bringing their children because it's talking about cannabis. But I said, is anyone hesitant to bring their children into a restaurant that serves alcohol? Never. You never think twice about that. Or you go to events all the time that are serving alcohol, or even they're talking about alcohol. And it's just so natural and normal to us in this society. And so, you know, parents and just everybody in general is just trying to navigate what does this mean, and how do we talk about cannabis, and how do we normalize it and really break that stigma. And I think, you know, sharing our personal stories is one of the best ways that we can do it, and saying, you know, look at me, look what I did, and this worked for me, and it might work for you, to show. Maybe I'll start wearing a white coat around.
I love it. No, I mean, you're totally right. And I actually think it's great to get this conversation out early as a child, like to children, because, you know, I grew up in California. So it was probably better because it was almost a little more normalized where I was, you know, it wasn't as big of a deal. But when I moved to the East Coast in the middle of high school, it was really like taboo. People thought I was like the weird one that smoked pot. But, you know, I think if the conversation had been there from an early age, you know, it wouldn't have been such a shocker to everybody. And I think it's really good that you're on this crusade because, like you said, people are waking up. People are starting to realize, like, drugs aren't working. There's all these amazing alternatives, you know, like antidepressants aren't working, but meditation does, you know, or going, you know, I always reference this study over meditation and running helps depression more than any antidepressant. I'm like, it's just so simple, you know?
I had a whole slide on that in my education days in the schools. It was the statistical results of medication versus, you know, mindfulness, running, all sorts of everything else you could do.
Plants, acupuncture.
There was even even drinking water had a higher rate than medication. Just hydrating.
Herbs. I'm like, it's amazing how many. I'm actually this bottle right now has cat's claw in it, and I like to call it. My friend actually brought it to me. She brought it from Peru, and I had this injury. Like, cat's claw, great.
Cat's claw is one of the healing herbs I use still every day in my healing journey. It's a great anti-inflammatory. I even met a man in Peru who said it helps with HIV/AIDS. He had AIDS, and he said he was using it for that.
My God. Well, I'm taking it for tendonitis that I just got like 5 days ago, but
it'd be great for that.
Yeah. And I read last night, it said something about DNA repair. I was like, well, that sounds great because I've been living in like a toxic city for a long time now. So I'm sure, you know, it's great. So I'm really glad you're doing this work. It's so important to get this message out. This is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you. And I really wanted people to see that, you know, you can really take any passion and create any vision you want with it. I mean, you know, my friend who sent me the text was like, marijuana and yoga? That's just awesome. Like, he's like, I've been doing that for years. I didn't know this was like a thing, you know, and now it's amazing because of course it is, you know, and you've made it into this beautiful, wonderful mission. You know, it's not just like, hey, let's get high and do yoga. It's like, it's a deeper mission that you're on. And I really love it. Now tell people, where can everybody find out more about you, what you're up to, your retreats, your training, the women's circles?
So you can find us online at www.ganjasana.com. That's GANJASANA.com. And we're on Instagram at Ganjasana. And you can find out all our information and connect with me.
Yeah, and I think maybe my friend and I will fly out there for one of these ceremonies because
you should.
I'm wanting to bring you here, but it's not quite legal in this state yet. But you're right, Massachusetts. I forgot about Massachusetts, and it's coming. New York or New Jersey.
We're planning an event in May, early May for Massachusetts. So I'll keep everybody posted on that.
Yes. I could probably fill that up in 10 minutes.
Awesome.
With all the amazing women that we all know. So thank you so much for joining me. The links are going to be in this video. And everybody, feel free to write some comments, give us some hearts. And Rachel, thank you so much. And I will see you soon. Thanks for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.